sending out the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California has won the big game.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Pry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
Wait, we're booing. What are we doing? No, we don't want to be booing. Yeah, there we go. Oh, now, come on. I appreciate it. Hey, good morning. How are you? It's Wednesday. It's hump day here on the program. Hope you're doing well. Day 3 of the reboot here on YouTube. And I can't thank you enough, everybody who has supported the show as we get to the halfway point of week number 1, right? It's here. Week number 1 is here, and the first hump day is here. There you go. You can, that's right, keep calm. I can stay calm as long as we don't have any technical snafus, which is never anything that is 100% guaranteed. Again, the disclaimer, if we go off, be patient, I'll reboot. If we go powerless, we're done. We'd have to do the show some other time. All right. So anyway, good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing wonderfully wherever you might be. And we've got a good program lined up for you today. We're going to tell you about that. Oh, wait a minute. There's Patty. Had people saying, you know, you're day 2 of the show and you don't have a Bigfoot reference. Well, there you go. There's Patty right there. Completely real, by the way. Let him try to tell you otherwise. I'm so sick of that. But anyway, be sure to join us up here on the, you see down here on the bottom, the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. That's how we chime in. One of the ways that we chime in, you can also hit me up on the text line, 540-391-0788. So either way you do it, it's fine. But I really like the chat part of it in the comments because that is what the YouTube algorithm asks for. Yeah, so far, Big Al. Yeah, Big Al says in the chat, so far less issues than we used to have in radio. You know, you never know. You just never know. You're kind of a prisoner of your own mechanism, if you will, when that happens. Hey, Reggie, good morning. Yeah, let's get it going here on a Wednesday. Dwayne, how are you? Good to see you. Okay, I better not drink it up this early, Reggie. I mean, Dwayne, probably not a good idea. But hit us up on the text line. We got a good show for you. We're going to tell you about it coming up here in just a second. But I want to tell you about our Family Fencing Studios as well. That's where we broadcast from here in Reiner. If you have an old, worn-out fence or no fence at all, let Family Fencing give your yard the upgrade it deserves. These are really cool people. They had a passion. This is something that they are experts in, and they decided to make it their business. And we appreciate them partnering up with us because here we are trying to take the show to the age of digital. They have a no-dig installation system. They build you a strong, beautiful fence with no holes, no mess, no damage. They're locally owned, and they are experts in fencing in the New Valley and in Southwest Virginia, specializing in aluminum, vinyl, wood, and chain link for residential, commercial, and agricultural. And yes, they have financial options, so you don't have to pay it all at once. Get your free quote today. Call Family Fencing. There you see it, 540-200-8294, or visit familyfencingnrb.com. They build better fences, no digging required. So thanks to Jason and the crew at Family Fencing, and we appreciate them greatly for joining us here on the program. As I mentioned, also McClellan Chiropractic for sponsoring our chat. We have some big sponsor news that I'm going to save until next week. That's all I'm going to say. It's a tease. But be sure, by the way, if you are a business owner and you'd like to partner up with us, please reach out, because the show needs your support. And as I keep telling everyone, make sure you go through and you watch the videos. Even if you don't watch it live, you go back later, even if you just watch it for a little while. The algorithm wants subscriptions first and foremost. So tell your friends. I think it's amazing. We're over 260 now in 2 days. I think that's a good start. Is it? I think it's a good start, but we need to keep it going. So make sure, no matter what you do, subscribe, like. It's huge. That's what they track. That's our scoreboard. This is a sports show. You know, you can move the ball from 20 to 20, right? You can go from 20 to 20. But what do you do those final 20 yards once you get in the red zone? You know, if you're like my beloved Broncos over the last few years, too often you're either, having to kick a field goal or you're turning the ball over. So we need to get the ball over the goal line here. See what I did there, by the way? I turned that into a sports reference, since this is a sports program. So make sure that you support in that way. Tell your friends they don't have to watch all the time. They can just watch a little bit. And it counts. It counts. But I think we, and I mean that we, can take this show to a really, really strong level. Coming up today at 7 o'clock, Damien Sordelett. He's the Virginia Tech football beat writer from the Roanoke Times. We'll get more skinny on the Hokies, and they have a scrimmage coming up this weekend. So we'll get his take on everything that's happening there. Donnie Lynn, the head basketball coach at Mount St. Mary's, will join us as well. That's around 7:30. Of course, Coach Lynn was an assistant at Radford for years under Mike Jones. In his first head coaching gig, and it was one of the Cinderella stories, all right? Mount St. Mary's went to the first four in Dayton, just like Radford did back in 2018. They won their game, got to play in the NCAA field of 64 after they advanced on. And what a whirlwind first year for Coach Lynn, and we're going to talk to him about that. I mentioned yesterday, amongst our terrific Hall of Fame class at Radford here in 2025, his former boss and lifetime friend now, Mike Jones, is one of the folks inducted. We'll talk about that. And then speaking of local basketball royalty, coming up at 8, Radford University Hall of Famer, former Pulaski County Cougar megastar Ron Shelburne will join us here on the program. Tomorrow as well, Thursday, we have that lineup set for you. Andy Bitter will join us from Tech Sideline. Also joining us will be David Teal, and then Dwight Vick. So we're loaded for bear on Thursday, still working on Friday. We may have a pretty big announcement about a guest on Friday as well. So be sure to chime in. Your interaction is vital more than ever. This is your show, peeps. That's why I'm back here. It was your encouragement. It was your prompting on the BDST Facebook page that really kind of encouraged me. That and, Randy Thompson and certain other folks. So we appreciate all of your support, and now more than ever, we need you. We need you. So all that's coming up here on the program today as we glide through Wednesday. I do want to ask, I'm going to bring this up because I'm just going to ask all of you because I've had so many people. You see, I left this like this for a reason, by the way. I left the logo primary for a second. You see that logo right there? A lot of people have already asked about T-shirts. And I hadn't really even thought about that. So my question to you is, would you want BDST new logo T-shirts for the new show as we go into the digital age? Or is that not worth something to pursue? Would you want it with that logo? We have two. We have the main logo that you see right there on the screen, which is why I left it up there. It's always better when I'm smaller in a video capacity. And then you have, of course, the secondary logo. There you go, the cover logo, if you will. So which one do you want? Or maybe both. Maybe one can be on the front, a small one, and a bigger one on the back. But what I need you to do is you let me know what you think, and is it worth pursuing? But I've had more, text messages and people on Facebook ask about that. So yeah. So let me know which one it is that you would like on that. All right. Everybody's saying the new logo. Is that right? Okay. Well, that's fine. Just let me know. It's up here in the right corner. So if anybody would like a t-shirt, I have to figure all that out. It'd be minimal cost to you. But if anyone is a printing sponsor, let me know. Dwayne says, look into that Top Shelf Customs in Dublin. Okay. All right. I will. Give him a yell, Dwayne. Tell him Rick said, hey, we need you. But if it's something people will want, what do you think? Large, extra large, 2X? All right, so peeps are going for the new logo. So I'm guessing that means, let me find it again. I'm guessing you mean, let me minimize me again, because that's always a good thing, like I said. So I'm guessing you mean that one, right? The dog with the microphone. Would anybody want this one on the shirt at all? Like maybe a smaller version if I end up doing this? See, I'm letting you dictate this as the audience because you're the consumer. All right? So just let me know. Al, no, Big Al. No. See, no. It's not going to be in black. No. I like the way you call it VT black. Yeah. Virginia Tech uses black so often, it's now just Virginia Tech black. Not just a shade anymore. It's Virginia Tech black. Hey, Sharon, new logo. Okay. All right. Hit me up in the chat room and or on the text line. All right. So I'm gonna consider this further. But I wasn't going to bring it up, but I look back at people DMing me and things like that, and it was like 24 messages. Hey man, can we get t-shirts? Sure. It looks like everybody likes the dog on the mic logo. Okay. All right. Well, we'll figure it out here. I'll pursue that. And if you know anybody, give me a yell. We can work something out. Okay. That's good. Sam, your feedback. It's your show. So we're doing that potentially. That might be happening. There's a lot of cool things coming up. We have some sponsor announcements, a big one next week that I'm not going to tip off until next week. I can't get over already the response the show's gotten in terms of views and people chiming in and helping us out and trying to get people to help out. It means a heck of a lot to have you fighting for the show. And I meant that yesterday, by the way. I wanted to elaborate. I just think that there's, who else said things like this? Frank Beamer back in the day. This is Southwest Virginia. This is our home. Now, this is a national show now, right? It's on YouTube. Anyone across this great orb of ours circling in the universe can tune in to the show. Anybody, right? But it originates here, Southwest Virginia, the New River Valley. It's our home. It's our community. And, you go other places and, people sometimes say, oh, the further you go south in Virginia, you hear all this. This is our place. And we can do whatever the hell we would set our minds to doing. We're not small time. We have two major universities here, right? You have Virginia Tech and the ACC. You've got Radford. And we were in the Big South, obviously not a power school, but you get what I mean. We've got a community here. We've got an amazing community here in Montgomery County, here where I am. And Reiner, it grows every day. By the way, we have to do up here by the fire station. Let's see. Let me get my directions in order here where I'm at. We have the new park, right? Teal Park. Have you seen that here in Reiner? Beautiful. It's beautiful. They just completed. They put the sign up. And, man, I got to say this. Coming back, and I know we all here in Reiner and people probably all over miss Bull Teal. Bull Teal connected with me back first run of the show early, maybe 2001. Because I remember the very first show we did, we had planned it. Ron Walton, God rest his soul, the greatest radio boss I've ever had. When I was doing this show, not this show, but the whole Big Dog creation was with Pat Kelly on the Bear in the Morning show. Pat Kelly, to this day, the most talented natural radio on mic ability anyone I've ever worked with. And I've worked with a lot of great people. I'm just talking in day-to-day radio. Pat Kelly was at a different level. And he moved here from the Northeast, and he made this his home. And we created, if you remember back then, when Ron and his partners bought the station, Gary Burns and all those folks. And I would jump along. When you see Marva in Miami, that's how I met Marva. Marva was hired as the news director. And we had the rock station. We had the Bear, which was just started then by Pat and Ron. We had PSK, which is still in existence. We had a station called The Buzz, which was an alternative rock station. Fraser Hughes, who's now a real estate agent here in the NRV, does a great job. We should get him to sponsor the show. And then we had, what else? There was another station too. Maybe it's just the news talk station, but we would rotate around every 10 minutes, every quarter hour. And Pat created the whole Big Dog Aura. He threw that at me literally 30 seconds before we opened the mic for the first sports segment. And things have built. But I'm saying this is our home. This is our place. Anything can happen here. You know? It's trying to get back, and it may not, but Frank Beamer and Bud Foster created a college football power here in Southwest Virginia. And I'm just saying there is a little bit of a chip, I think, on our shoulder. Don't you think? So I know there are people who think, why would this show work on YouTube? Well, it's going to work on YouTube because of you and because of sponsors and because of the support, because it's our show. It's our show. And I know that sounds cliche, but really it's not. I don't mean it that way. I mean it sincerely. And let's treat it that way. Let's treat it that way. Why not? Let's create something here. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it. But you think back to those days and how the show has evolved. And I started thinking about all these things again when I did the article with the Patriot and Mike Williams, just thinking about, wow, how this thing has evolved and how unintentional it all was. And how it had to end after 10 years when I went full-time at Radford. And then get a call from Monticello Media back in 2020, Ralph Salerno. Jamie Forrest called and said, hey, would you like to bring the show back? There's nothing going on. It's COVID. Yeah, but you can make it work. Okay. Well, we did. And now here we are. And this whole thing, though, is we come back and I try to bring things full circle. It's because of you, the smartest listening audience in radio. So we can do this. It's a we show. It's not a me show. Dog on the mic logo only, Brandon says. New logo on the front and other logo on the back. Oh, okay. Really? Okay. But do you like big logos on the front or do you want it? I don't know. If you have a logo that's screen printed on there too much, it could cause some problems for dudes, in the upper region. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Yeah. Oh, I got the navy blue Radford polo today with the logo on the other side. Most of the time you have your Nike swoosh here, logo here. I know. We switched it up. We've got Nike logo here. Radford logo there. Thank you. Thank you very much. Figured I'd wear a different shirt every day to get started. You know what? Don't get used to the college shirts because, it's going to be, there'll be dressing down days, right? It's not going to always be like this. It's just not. Many people have been commenting as well saying, hey, I don't know what you're doing, but how have you had 2 shows and you have not at one point mentioned this woman? Well, now I am, because you requested it. There she is, ladies and gentlemen. Selma Hayek has made her first appearance here on the program. You're welcome, America. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Selma has entered the building here on the new BDST. So we're excited about that. This came out. Hang on, let me fix the screen here. There we go. This came out a couple weeks ago, not 2 weeks ago. The ACC preseason top 25 media poll came out. Now, those big numbers that you see there are the votes, the total votes they have, and in parentheses beside it are the first place votes. And I bring this up because as you look at this, peruse it here. We talked about how Clemson is an overwhelming number 1 pick in this conference. Hang on, I'm taking a beverage sip there. Clemson, Miami, SMU, Georgia Tech, Louisville. There's your top 5. And really, when you look at the rest of it, it's kind of a crapshoot, I think, 6 through 12. Kind of looks like a crapshoot to me. It looks like we're going to have at least 3 not-so-good teams, right? Stanford, Wake, Cal, UVA. Feels like a big year in Charlottesville. We're going to get into this more. But we talk about the transitional year here, year number 4. Things are a mess in Charlottesville. I don't know if you've been paying attention. But in that athletic department, at the higher end of things, it just seems like there's some turmoil going on down there. But Brent Pry and Tony Elliott were hired at the same time. So it feels like to me that if you're going to talk about Brent Pry in a must-win year 4, it feels like UVA has that same pressure on them coming up. And here they are picked 14th. But Virginia Tech sitting there at 11th. Now, if I were a betting individual going into the season, I can't sit here and say that I'm overly surprised that they're there. But at the same time, I know a lot of people may say 11th, and they may think that's pretty low. But really, you still have 6 teams below you. And when you're in like the mid-tier, you're at 10, 11, it's kind of a let's show us what you got thing. Maybe they're going to be okay. And the schedule is conducive for that for Tech. For UVA, I'm not sure the schedule is going to help them a whole lot. They open up with Coastal Carolina. It's a big, big game for Tony Elliott. Chanticleers mean business when they play power forward. It's a good football program. Then they go to NC State, which is never easy. William & Mary comes in, and then they've got a chance, right? Because we don't know about Florida State yet. Speaking of crucial years, Mike Norvell. He's got to have a big year, I think, down Tallahassee. Feels like it. They've got Stanford, Florida State, but then it gets to the tough part a little bit. They go to Louisville. They play Washington State. Cougs are pretty explosive. Go to Chapel Hill to take on Bill Belichick. I don't really think that Virginia is a very dynamic team. I'm sorry, I'm distracted by my 23-year-old girlfriend back there. She's topless. So, next question. Actual future footage from a Bill Belichick press conference. And then they have Wake, Duke, and Virginia Tech. So they have a schedule of Virginia that they could actually do pretty well, depending on how they develop. Quarterback situation shoes, they're going to have to start tackling people defensively. So it's a big year for both. But Tech's sitting there at 11. And, I don't know about Georgia Tech. I mean, they're picked fourth. They've done a great job in building up their program. They have. They made a coaching hire, and it has really elevated them tremendously. And they, I think, are at Colorado to take on Dion and the Buffs. Sans Shedeur Sanders. So we'll see about them. But when you look at the poll, I think what you see is a league that you see why teams like Clemson, Carolina, Miami are looking to move out. This is a league that when you look at it from top to bottom, and we used to talk about this a lot, but when you lose, if you end up losing those top schools, which I believe is going to happen sooner than later, I don't know for sure. I'm going to make a bold prediction that this will be the last year North Carolina is a member of the ACC. I really believe that. I think that's going to happen. Matthew asked, just hope the pants being worn off camera. Well, it's hit or miss, Matthew. I have the table buffer. The camera only goes, so high here. So, so we don't know. We don't know. Maybe, maybe not, Matthew. But I believe North Carolina will be in another league in 2026, or they will have applied and made it official they're leaving. I don't know how the rules are. I can't keep up with what's going on in college football. There are no rules. Like if they decide they want to leave, do they have to stay one more year? I don't know where we are with all that, because it's kind of all this thing about realignment's quieted down in recent, last year or two, because, it is what it is now with the playoff and NIL, TV contracts and locked in money. But I think when the rumblings start, and when you start to hear things that I do around SEC athletic directors talking about Carolina, it means that they've already made the decision to go get North Carolina. Does that make sense? And I'm not saying that's the only one. But what we're doing is looking at brand here. We're looking at strict brand recognition, and North Carolina has that. Clemson has it in just one sport. Now, it is the biggest sport. It is the straw that stirs everything else in college athletics, major college athletics, football. And they have that. They're a preseason top 5, 16, whatever, whichever poll you look at. But does Clemson offer the brand? And that's what SEC and Big Ten have been doing. They're looking at the brand. They're thinking out of the box going forward. They're not, I think a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this too, we think of realignment and we say, well, they've not been good at football. No, maybe they haven't. For instance, the Big Ten. USC has been more often. They haven't been recently. UCLA hasn't been for a long time, but they went after the brands, the market, the brands. North Carolina is a brand more than it is a football program that the SEC is looking at. Clemson is more of a football program than a brand. You think about it. They've had some good years recently in basketball. They've had some good teams. Heck, they had, an Elite 8 team 2 years ago. Good programs. They used to have a dominant baseball program. But Clemson is not necessarily a brand beyond football season. Maybe that's enough. But North Carolina is a brand. It always will be. I will contend that Bill Belichick went to Carolina first because there was an opportunity. I know he had some relationships there, but he wanted to be part of that brand. So you look at this league and it's top heavy. SMU has been a great addition. They almost won the league last year, contended for a while. Now they're picked third. The other teams that didn't matter, Cal and Stanford coming in. That's why the whole ACC thing, which we talked about in depth, it still makes no sense. SMU makes sense. SMU did not have power for money. They went out to raise the money. You remember this story 2 years ago? We talked about it a lot on the show. They went out and raised money just strictly from boosters and donors to get the money to move out of their league to go Power 4. And then, of course, the ACC came calling. And they raised more money, I think, in a 2-week span than most teams produce in revenue the entire year that are already in power leagues. That's how much money they have in Dallas. So I'm not surprised at all to see SMU having an amazing start in football. They're going to hang around, especially if this league gets restructured. But Cal and Stanford never made sense. They still don't make sense. We're a year separated from it, heading into year 2 of the football season with Cal and Stanford in the ACC, and it still makes zero sense. You tell me as a fan, what benefit have you seen other than maybe you get a win on your schedule from having Cal and Stanford in the league? What has it done for this conference? Has it made it a coast-to-coast brand? No, it hasn't. And people will say, well, hey, what are you talking about? The Big Ten added 2 California schools. You're sitting there saying that's a great move. ACC added 2 California schools. What's the difference? The difference is UCLA and USC are in the world's second largest television market, media market. And USC is a blue blood in the history of college football. Cal and Stanford are in Northern California in wine country, Silicon Valley. They don't even know what football is. They think football is what they see in the EPL. 2 guys kicking a rubber ball down the street. Major difference. Major difference. So, to me, a year later, heading into year 2, it still makes no sense to me. But that's where we are. But Clemson, Miami, number 2, Miami, good luck. Good luck, Mario. I think SMU is going to finish ahead of Miami. I mean, I think that's the case. I don't think SMU is – they're getting respected, but they probably still don't get respected. But let me know what you think. And if you are a big, I know most of you are, many of you are, big ACC fan. Wayne from Ohio, it blows my mind that UVA is more attractive to the SEC and Big Ten than Virginia Tech. Correct, it is. It's mind-blowing to think about because, all right, let's ask the question here. Let's put it out there because I would like to get your thoughts. And I'll ask, we have, Andy Bitter coming on tomorrow. He's a good guy to ask that question. Let me ask you, is Virginia Tech a big enough brand for the SEC and the Big Ten? I'm talking about as a whole. In your mind. And I know you're going to have bias because you're a Tech fan, but just But you're not. But this audience, they understand what I'm asking you. You're not just going to say something because that's the way you feel. You're going to be honest about it. Is Virginia Tech a big enough brand to these other leagues? Now, on Saturdays, you better believe they are. Because the crowd in Blacksburg, the fans, is what has separated everything about Virginia Tech from just about every other place in the country. Rodney says the ACC should have gone West Virginia, not Cal and Stanford. UVA's brand has already been deemed more attractive, especially to the Big Ten, because those school presidents lean on the academia side of things. And UVA's been rumored for 2 years now to be amongst the top tier schools that the Big Ten's looking at. And you're going to say, why? Because there's a difference in on-field success. Now, Virginia Tech's brand has been hurt because they haven't won. So the one thing they have going for them is that football program. The fans are still there, but the team hasn't won. They haven't been a draw. And this is one of the reasons Florida State thought they could bully their way and shove their way through, because they had the numbers, and we shared those last year. The television viewing numbers from around the country when Florida State plays in the ACC, far and away higher than any other school because of the brand. They are correct about their brand. The way they went about trying to express how they knew about their brand and recognize how special they were, completely wrong. You don't step on the bodies of the league you're part of to try to get to the next league. Right now, Virginia Tech, they're not horrible. They're not bottom half of, television eyes, but they're no longer, and I'm not talking about for us, we're always going to watch them around here. I'm talking about regionally, nationally. Is Virginia Tech still a brand that people say, let's watch them play football? Now people, you know what? Now when people watch a Tech game, they want to see the beginning of the game, Sandman, and what the crowd has created. And then they probably say, okay, let's switch it on over now to the SEC game. That is really cool. And because they haven't been good at football, that's kind of what the result has been too often than not on the field. Hey, this intro is awesome. Clearly one of the top 3 in college football. But then you get in the first and second quarter, teams start to settle in. There's not a real home field advantage at Lane right now. Well, that's kind of the way it is when you watch them on TV. I'm not talking about us. I'm talking for people out of the market. Hey, let's put it over there real quick. Let's see if they've done that intro. That's what fans are saying. Fans in Berkeley and Palo Alto, that new ACC crowd, probably don't know a whole lot about Tech, but they sure as hell know about Enter Sandman. Okay, we're not going to watch the rest of it because that's over. Because the product hasn't been to the level of Tech fans. I'm always just so impressed all the time by Tech fans. All the time. And I don't believe that they're ever going to go away. I really don't. I think that's more prominent now. And so programs like Tech can stand the test of time, even through all the NIL frustration we're all dealing with. You're going to be there. They're going to be there. And it's very impressive. It's very impressive. And I think when you have that backing, certainly it puts more pressure on whatever coach is there following Frank Beamer. And it's something, unfortunately, for Tech and Whit Babcock that his first hire, Justin Fuente, did not understand. He just got a color analyst gig, Justin Fuente. He might excel at that. I don't know. But when he was here, instead of trying to look at Virginia Tech's brand, which I think is primarily tied into the fans and to that tradition that Coach Beamer really took to another level, what was the immediate thing that Whit Babcock and he tried to do? They tried to change it. They tried to go away from it. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Big Al asked about the revised buyout for the ACC, $165 million. Well, that's kind of what it was for SMU. They had to raise, I don't know how much it was in their other league, 100 and some million. They had double that in 2 weeks. Now, not every fan base is as eager and readily financially advantaged as the folks in Dallas, but that's money that if it's something that's going to benefit long term, it's going to have to come from even more donations, 100%, or a large majority of it would. And I'm going to say this because I heard this is yesterday, okay? This is yesterday. And I probably know more people at Big 12 schools than any other conference. I'm talking about really know them, people that I feel like I can talk to, and you're gonna get info, whether it's the radio people, sports information people, coaches. And a couple people yesterday, they've been watching the show. Hey, how you doing, Big 12 country? Good morning, guys. Won't say your names because it's valued information. You don't go unless they say, hey, yeah, it's fine. No, you just go with it. I keep hearing that Virginia Tech is very attractive to the Big 12. Very attractive. Two of the people that I know very well sit in on Big 12 conference calls. I think that's a pretty good source. Just saying. I'm not saying it's imminent at all. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just telling you, if you think the SEC and the Big Ten, and apparently they don't value Virginia Tech right now like you want them to. Big 12 does. I'll just say that. I can say that with 100% confidence from the info I was given yesterday. The Big 12 values the hell out of Virginia Tech. Now, does that mean that there's going to be a move? No. Does that mean that I don't know where Virginia Tech stands on? No idea. But I'm just telling you, that league would love to eventually add Virginia Tech. Does that go as breaking news here on the program? No. Thank you, Jason. He says, thank you, Rick, for launching your show your way. He says he believes there's enough of brand to make conferences take a look. I'm not criticizing Tech's brand. I just put the question out there, And I think if they start winning again, I look at the schedule. 8-4 looks good to me for Virginia Tech. South Carolina is going to be tough, but, man, I love what has already been brought to the table about first games. I'll talk to Damien about that here in just a little bit. Damien Sordelett, the Virginia Tech football beat writer. First games, man. Mike Burnip was really huge on that. Bill Ross said it Monday on our debut show, right? So, yeah. Why not? Why not? I don't know what they're going to look like. Talking about South Carolina. I don't know. Pressure on Shane Beamer. There was a lot of pressure on him last year. I think this year he's a little different mindset. Little different mindset. But I'm not going to sit here and say something's unwinnable because we don't know what it's going to be like. We don't know. Vanderbilt at home on a Saturday night. Diego Pavia be damned. That's going to be tough for the Commodores, in my opinion. Right? And by the way, before we launch this program, very excited that Virginia Tech finally came to its senses and ended the Old Dominion series going forward. Thank goodness, which we'll talk about some other time. Old Dominion after Vandy's going to be a win. So I'm going to go 2-1. Let's just do this right now because many people have asked. We'll give South Carolina the edge in the opener. They're better skill, a lot better skill players. Vandy and ODU will be a win. Hey, good morning, Louise. Thank you so much, Louise Baker, for sponsoring Mike Burnup's appearance here on the program. Wofford, I am the starting quarterback for the Wofford game. Now that's breaking news. Wofford will be a win easily. At NC State. Now we get into the mucky muck a little bit. So if Tech's 3-1, going to Raleigh, they always underachieve, don't they? Dave Doran, we hear about him. People love him. That's a winnable game, depending on what happens with the development of the running backs. I know offensive line, is Kyron Drones healthy? But that's why you're predicting now, right? You're going forward. We have a guest, I believe, that's going to happen on Friday that's very good at predicting things. He has a strong track record. That's right, Wayne. I'm going to be named quarterback. They want to rest Kyron for Wofford. So there's going to be a lot of halfback tosses in that game. I'm going to say, I'm going to come back to the Carolina game. I'm going to come back to it. So, the Carolina State game. You got to make a pick. You got to be bold. At NC State. You know what? I'm going to say Tech wins that game. How's that? 4-1. They're going to beat Wake at home. If Tech gets off to a 5-1 start, we're going to be some excited people again, Lane Stadium. Yeah, they could really pull that off. I want to see them play. I haven't seen these new guys. But when I talk to Rolf, talk to Burnham, you feel pretty good about what they say about these guys, especially the brand new. How many schools, by the way, think about this. How many college football teams going into a season can lose all 5 starters on their offensive line from the previous year and replace them with 5 guys, and everyone to a man is saying how much better they are? I have never heard of that at the collegiate level, but that's what Mike Burnham said yesterday, and that's what Bill Ross said on Monday here on the show. Think about that for a second. That shows you how bad the offensive line situation was. And unfortunately, how bad the coaching situation was, which really surprised me that went down the wrong road as quickly as it did. So I'll have them 5-1. I don't think they win at Georgia Tech. I'll go 5-2 against the Ramblin' Wreck. I think the Ramblin' Wreck's going to be pretty good. California coming to Lane. That's a dub, right? Aaron Rodgers not sitting back there picking apart Tech's defense in a bowl game. This is the new California. Now they're They have some talent, and they did play some teams, to their credit, tough on the road last year in the ACC, traveling across the country, but they got a lot of disadvantages. That's going to be a dub. So I got them 6-2. How many of you out there, if you're a Tech fan, would take 6-2 right now after 8 games? Every one of you, raise your hand. After what you've gone through the last 4 or 5 years? Louisville, I got to give to the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are going to be really, really good. Really good. Say 6-3. At Florida State. Tough to win, Tallahassee. I'll say 6-4. Miami. In Blacksburg. I'm going to say it right now. Virginia Tech's beating Miami in Blacksburg. Next to last game. Had them beat last year. They beat them last year. Beat them last year. But the ACC had different ideas. And I don't care, by the way, whatever was tried to, how ridiculous that whole aftermath of that was. That was clearly, and this is what creeps in the sport and it just drives you crazy. That was clearly the ACC trying to take that game away and give it to Miami. I even went back during the summer, just randomly, before I even knew I was going to relaunch the show. And I just went back and watched that. I'm like, it's nonsensical. To this day, it's nonsensical. And then they're going to beat my Virginia because, well, they always beat Virginia. Who knows? By then, the Cavs may be on an interim coach. You never know. So that's what? 8 wins, 8-4. There would be cartwheels in Blacksburg if Tech won 8 games. You go to a little better bowl game than you've been. And Brent Pry would probably get an extension. Now, there's the other question I would want to ask you. 8 wins would save Brent Pry's job. Would it save Whit Babcock's job? I don't know. But 8 wins would do it. What's your thoughts about that? Hit me up on the BDST text line, 540-391-0788. All right? Hit me up on that or the McClellan Chiropractic Clinic live chat here in our comments. Either one works. The chat, though, is what YouTube looks at. I'm just going to say the comments that you make during the show. So hit me up in the comment section. That would be great. 8-4, better bowl game. Coach is going to get an extension. Would that be cool? And you tell me who else you're going to get. And that's the thing you always have to look at. The grass is not always greener. And the one thing I'm impressed about with Brent Pry is this. He did acknowledge his own mistakes without saying he made mistakes about his staff, something we talked about on the show. How risky it was as a first-time head coach to bring in 2 first-time coordinators to your program. And I know you wanted to start something with younger guys, your guys. I get it. I know the thought process. But what did we say? You needed some experience there to help you through all the mucky muck. 3 years in, going into year 4, he had to completely change basically the whole personality of his coaching staff. He recognized that. I think that's a positive thing. Very positive thing. Because what you don't want is some coach who's a first-time head coach like Brent Pry to be very arrogant about the choices that they've made and refuse to make changes. On the text line, yes, 8 games would do it, but would 6 games? No. 6-6, the house is cleaned in Blacksburg. 100%. And that's how you talk about football being a game of inches. That's how all this goes, a game of inches. And we'll bring this up with Damien Sordelett when he joins us. Now, you 6-6. See ya. National search begins. Boom. 8 though changes it, and that's what it is. That's the reality. That's how important this season is. Tech has been very bad in close games. If they have a shot to win one of these games close, I think NC State's going to be a close game. They got to win it. Miami, that should be a close game. I'm not buying Miami. Tech beat them last year. Miami had the best quarterback in the country last year. Tech beat them. Put together the best game of the year after they were reeling. Nobody gave Tech a chance. What was the spread in that game? Wasn't it like 14? They'll beat them in Blacksburg in November, right? They'll beat them in Blacksburg. Be a little colder. Tech fan, you can handle it. Miami won't come up here and do well. But that'll be the first sign for this Tech team whether or not things were definitely fit correctly. They had to make moves. But how was the fit? We'll know if the fit is like a brand new glove. If they're able to win those closer games, if they can make defensive adjustments in the fourth quarter. Can the offensive coordinator make the kind of calls they need to make when the game is on the line? Which it didn't happen. It just didn't happen with Bowen. And Chris Marr's defense never seemed to make adjustments. Ever. So new coordinators have gotten good reviews already by two of the people I trust the most, Bill Raw, Mike Burnham. So I think that's a good thing. But Foster's going to be around. That's always a good thing. He should have always been given, and Brent Pry's done it, but he should have never been made to feel like he couldn't. He would never butt in with another coach, but that should always be an open invitation. Because I know he's retired and he's not coaching, but you don't think that he's evolved with the game as a defensive coach. You don't think that he's thought about how he would have to and what he would do to counter some of the things we're seeing that's so prevalent now in college football with the way the offenses have evolved and so forth. And I think he's going to bring that with the new coordinator as a guy who's going to be there on game day, help with the game plan, whatever it might be. I think it's a great role for him. I really do. But hit me up on the comments here. Be sure, once again, to like and subscribe. It's very, very important that you do that. So please jump in and let's rock and roll as we get ready to start our number 2 here on the program. And
if we die, we die together. You can get it done. You can get it done. What's more, you gotta get it done.
There's a gleam, men. There's a gleam. Let's get the gleam, all right? Let's go.
Want a piece of that championship? Put it in here.
Hey, guys, where else would you rather be?
Rather be here on a Wednesday than with us here on the program. And we're very excited once again. I know I have awakened him early. He is the Virginia Tech beat writer for the Roanoke Times, Damien Sordelett. What is up, Damien? Great to see you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, great to see you, Rick. Not too early. My wife starts her first day teaching at State and River Middle, and she has to be up bright and early as well. So I wasn't waking up too terribly early. So no big
you
deal.
Look great. You look great. Well, that's right. School is starting here, by the way, in Montgomery County today.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Bedford County starts today. I think Roanoke County starts tomorrow. For some reason, they're starting on a Thursday. But, yeah, I guess for teachers, they like the shorter weeks to kick it off and get the kids, situated with their new grade, and then rock and roll next week.
Rock and roll. That's right. Well, let's get right into it, man. Going into Brent Pry's 4th year. How many years is this for you as the official beat writer for Tech? Is this your 4th year?
I'm entering my 3rd year.
3rd year, okay.
Covering football, yeah.
Okay, so you've been there with the program. What have you seen this year? You've been around it. You're down at ACC Media Kickoff. You're practicing. What have you seen that gives you and should give Tech fan a little bit more hope? What have you liked about the adjustments Coach Pry's made and what you've seen in the team and heard about?
Well, first disclaimer, we haven't seen any live periods of practice. I think they're keeping that kind of secretive. We were hoping we got to be there for the first day in pads, practice 6 1 week ago, and we were hoping to at least get to see the first inside run drills, because usually that's the best part, because the last couple of years there's been an ejection. Johnny Dixon in 23 and Keyshawn Burgos last year for stuff that's happened in practice, and they've kicked someone out. Usually it's been for fighting. So we didn't get a chance to see that. I would say they look leaner. The off-season program with Jarrett Ferguson has really done wonders for a lot of bodies. Benji Gosnell even joked around like he's the same weight, but last year he looked like he was 8 months pregnant versus this year, and he looks in better shape. Emmett Laws was at Media Day last week, and he said, they asked him, well, what was the plan for the offseason with Ferguson? He's like, he ran us like MFers. So it goes back to Ferguson's days where, and Corey Moore told me this, he didn't call Lane Stadium the Terror Dome because it was terrifying for opponents. It was because it was terrifying for him in the off season because of the work Gentry made them do with bear crawls, tire rolls, stadium runs. Like he ran them in that stadium, and Jarrett Ferguson ran those players during the off season. So they're going to be better conditioned. I think new offensive coordinator Philip Montgomery being a guy who has experience in it, it's not a first-time guy like Tyler Bowen. That's a step forward. And the fact that Sam Seifkes is bringing his own defense, which is multiple, and the fact that they attacked the transfer portal to get guys who could play multiple in that defense, whether it's an odd front, 3 high safeties, different types of personnel packages. I think that's been a good move forward that Tech has, addressed what it needed to, and probably listened to the new coordinators and got the guys that they felt they needed.
Damien, one thing that I think is a real plus for Coach Pry, he understands how important this year. This is it. I mean, this is the year they have to take a step. But I like the fact, and I know he was buoyed by that, right? He was motivated because he knows. But the fact that he did it, the fact that he tried to change the personality of the coaching room, he didn't just say, okay, I brought these other guys in. They didn't work. I'm going to be stubborn. I'm arrogant. I know more than you. He never has done that, and he didn't do that here. I feel like that's a positive step, right, for Tech to be optimistic a little bit, because he just didn't sit back. Out of necessity, I know, but still he knew and recognized that there were problems that the coaching staff couldn't solve, the one in place before.
Yeah, and he got younger at defensive coordinator, but got a whole wealth of more experience with Seifkes, because this is I wrote a big story about him. This is going to be his 14th year in coaching, and he's 33, going to be turning 34 the week of the South Carolina game. He's been coaching since he couldn't play football anymore, and that was his second year at Wisconsin lacrosse, and so he's been coaching ever since, and he's learned from the best. And I think the fact that he has that type of experience, learning from a Dave Aranda, learning from Mike Zimmer in the NFL, learning from Nick Rollis in the NFL, he brings a lot to the table in terms of how to get the defense. And there's something that Pride told me about Seifkes, is that Seifkes went in and taught the techniques first, about how he wanted the players to play, how they wanted to attack, how he wanted to see them in their base, and then he taught the scheme. and went and installed it. And Pry said he's never seen that done before, because Cephas is bringing how they taught at Wisconsin, because he said that's the first time he had ever seen teaching at a high level. And the thing he said about even the NFL is players want to be taught.
Right.
So he's going in and teaching first and making sure these players understand the position they need to be in, how they need to attack it, the leverage they need before you're installing your scheme. So that way they have a baseline understanding of where they need to be, how they need to be there, and then it should flow naturally after that. I will say Matt Moore was the first hire he made, and we've seen a great return on investment. That offensive line, I think, is going to be significantly improved from where it was the last couple of years, especially with Tomas Remak leading the charge. He's been a guy who's played alongside NFL caliber talent at West Virginia. And people are probably like, man, he's shifting out to tackle. He said he practiced tackle quite a bit at West Virginia, even though he was playing left guard. So shifting out to right tackle is not that big of a move for him. And the fact that you're getting Montavious Cunningham playing at a higher level now, and actually a guy who's going to play, that's a good sign for this program. And so there's been, you can see the incremental changes. You can see that they're building, and it's a good sign for them going into this year, where quite honestly, you need to be 3-1 heading into league play in order to feel good about yourself. You can't be 2-2. You can't be 1-3 like you've been in the first 3 years, because if you can go into October with a winning record and not feeling like you have to play catch up from how bad things turned out in non-conference play, you're going to feel a lot better about where this program's going into what's arguably a really tough stretch, especially in November, with Louisville coming to Blacksburg for the first time. You got Miami at home. You got Florida State. So November gets tough, and you need to rack up as many wins as you can before then.
Joining us on the program, he's Damien Sordelett, the Virginia Tech football beat writer from the Roanoke Times. And you touched on something I mentioned a moment ago, and it blows me away to think about a program losing all of its offensive line starters from the year before. But because of Coach Moore and what they've seen and what you just talked about, Mike Burnett raved about it yesterday. Everybody's excited about the offensive line. And in college football, when you lose all 5 starters, it's unheard of for people to be that positive. It just shows you how many times did you and I talk about that the offensive line just wasn't good and hasn't been good in Blacksburg for too long.
Yeah, and when Moore is able to bring, Thomas Remak, who was an all Big 12 guard, I believe he, according to Pro Football Focus, he was the highest rated guard in the league, and was the only one with a pass block and a run block rate higher than 75 last year, which is really good. And Kyle Tuner following along. They really like him at center, even though he's a redshirt freshman. They really like his leadership. And I think you're going to get a better version of Laith Ganem. I know everyone looks at the numbers last year and like, man, he was not good. But he's healthy after missing in the last 10 games. And he looks in better shape. And I think the fact that Johnny Garrett has taken a step forward. And, again, Montavious Cunningham was really that guy. You're like, oh man, we brought in a transfer guy. Can he push to take Bob Schick's job? Could he take to maybe move Parker Clements out of the rotation? And the fact that he never really got a shot says, okay, well, why was that? And now you're seeing he's emerged in this scheme. So I think they've upgraded the offensive line, and the fact that he also brought in 2 more guys, and Lucas Austin and Gavin Crawford from WVU. That's really helped. And I think, Tommy Ricard improving his at center and pushing Altuner every day in practice. I mean, Brody Meadows, Meadows, Ganem were all recruited by Moore when he was at West Virginia, and obviously they chose Virginia Tech. But the fact that he gets to coach them and has a previous relationship, I think that's a big thing that really helps.
Kyron Drones, let's face it, he hasn't been the guy that he was hyped up to be since he got here. He's had some good moments. He's had some strong finishes as he did 2 years ago, but make or break year, his last year here. What's your confidence level on Kyron Drones? Because Bill Roth basically said here on Monday, look, he has to stay healthy. They're not real confident about the room behind him. So what's your confidence level about Drones being able, first of all, to stay healthy enough to have the kind of year that maybe he can push Tech to 7 or 8 wins?
Yeah, he told us at ACC Media Days that the days of him lowering his shoulder and running over someone and taking extra punishments, done. It's get out of bounds, slide, do whatever to preserve your body and make sure you can last the entire season. And the fact that, he's allowed the MCL and the turf toe to heal and then had the surgery for the stress fracture, he's healthy now. And you got to keep it that way. That means don't have a right tackle get pushed into him and step on his foot in a game that makes the injury worse. I know that probably brings up a sore subject for Tech fans. But yeah, so I mean, he knows he needs to be healthy. And I think if you go back to 2023, when he had nearly 3,000 yards of total offense, accounted for 22 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. I know the fumbles were an issue. But if you can get a guy that accounts for more than 3,000 yards of offense, between about 30 touchdowns and commits fewer than 5 turnovers, I know that's a high bar, but he needs to play at a high level for this Tech team to win, because as he mentioned, it's a mystery room right now in the running back room. Like, you don't know who's going to be the primary guy. You don't know what the rotation's going to be. So a lot of it is going to fall on Kyron Drones early to really set the tone. And that's going to be with his right arm, and that's going to be with his legs. And that's also going to be with how he plays mentally and how he sees the field and knows, hey, I need to make sure I'm being safe here. I need to make sure I'm making the right decision. And I need to make sure, like, we're ending each possession with a kick, because, he was really good that first year in not forcing a lot of passes into tight coverages, really good at making sure, the interceptions weren't a reason drive ended. So if he can do that, I think that helps him quite a bit. And I think he's got a chance. He really loves Montgomery's offense. Montgomery recruited him, and Drones, told us, like, the day Tulsa came and offered, Auburn was there, Baylor was there, Arkansas was there. Like, so it was like he came on a bad day. But I think the fact that Montgomery is a quarterback's coach, and has experience coaching quarterbacks, not to slight Tyler Bowen, but he had never done it before. Right. He was given the position in 23. I think that's been a big bonus for Drones. The fact that he has someone who has coached the position, that has been doing this for a long time. It's like, okay, I know your skill set. I know what you can do. Here's what I've done in the past to make it work with these guys, and take off with it.
Defensively as well, Damien, hear a lot of good things about the mindset there. They lost a lot, especially across the defensive front, but new coordinator there. He's a little low key in terms of the way he comes across. But, what's your take? What are you hearing about the defense?
Another thing about Cephas that I was brought up is that he's not a in-your-face guy. He's a teacher first. I think it was Jairo Wilson who played for him at Wofford and is now the edge coach at Tech. He's like, because of his, low-key demeanor, he's like, whenever Cephas raises his voice and gets in your face, it's like, I need to pay attention, or I just messed up. Like, and that's when everyone's like, okay, pay attention, because he's not like in your face all the time. It's like, okay, I need to get your attention. I think the players have really bought into that. The one area, there's 2 areas that I'm really intrigued to see how they play it. It's the defensive line and the safety room, because I think they have enough bodies at defensive line and enough veteran bodies, because everyone thinks of the first 4 and James Junkum, Ben Bell, Kamari Copeland, Kelvin Gilliam. But the fact that you have Elijah Fall that everyone was thinking, coming in as a defensive tackle. No, he's going to be a bigger defensive end who can play behind Junkum. Then you look at Cody Heisman, Emmanuel Hickman, Arius Nash. Those guys have different types of skill sets at tackle where, you can put them in different types of packages. And then now that you're moving Keyshawn Burgos a little further outside than he was at end, playing that edge outside linebacker spot, he's got some pass rush skills. So what can you do with him and Ben Bell? That's kind of intriguing because you can kind of mix and match. And I could see this defense looking like you have one particular player plays a high number of snaps one week, but then the following week, based on who you're playing, the type of scheme they run, what you need to run to stop them, you might have another guy at that same position who plays more snaps the following week because his skill set fits better for that. And then in the safety room, Pry said they're going to play all 5 of their top safeties, in Quentin Reddish, Christian Ellis, Tyson Flowers, Sherrod Koval, and Isaiah Cash. All 5 bring different types of skill sets. That's why you can probably see a lot of sub packages. You can probably see different types of base defenses where you put these guys in different spots because that's their strengths. And that's kind of intriguing because now you're putting less miles on those guys in terms of snaps every week, and you're giving different looks to these defenses. That's kind of an intriguing part for me to see how they do that and how they manage the snap counts for each. And that's something that, is kind of intriguing. This fact that Cephas is bringing in defensive schemes that not only did he learn at Wisconsin lacrosse, but he learned at Wisconsin, and they're the same ones he kind of put in at Wisconsin Platteville and Wofford. And I'll tell a quick story. Like Matt Janis was the defensive line coach at Wisconsin Platteville when Cephas was hired there, and he's like, we had a even front base principles. He brought in some odd fronts that adhere to the same principles, the same types of techniques, same types of rules, so that way you could integrate that type of scheme into their previous base defense. So now he's able to teach multiple looks and be able to get the most out of each scheme and each player who was in for those schemes. So that's why I think from the defensive side, I'm very intrigued to see how he's able to mix and match and how he's able to create different looks. So that way defenses don't know what's coming each week, because Tech ran a 4-2-5 each of the last 3 years. Yeah. That was Brent Pry's defense, and that Chris Marv ran. Now Sam Cephas is putting his twist on it, bringing his type of scheme. And I think that's going to be big for Virginia Tech, the fact that it's going to have different looks each week.
Damien Sordelett, the Virginia Tech football beat writer from the Roanoke Times, joining us on the program. All right, so you were down there at the kickoff. We know Clemson and Miami and SMU are getting the love as the top 3 teams. What about the middle of this league? Tech, I know, picked 11th. People are like, it sounds low, but, there are a lot of teams in the league. What's your vibe on the league as we look down, from that top tier? Just your opinion, what you've heard and things you learned down there.
Yeah, I stole this idea from Andy Bitter. So when he did his ACC picks, he went game by game in league play for each team, and it was like, okay, W, L, and that's how he determined it. I went a little step further and was like, okay, how are you playing going into league play? So I had Clemson and Georgia Tech finishing 1-2. I think the Jackets are going to be good this year, especially if Haynes King stays healthy. And Tech fans will remember that Haynes King didn't play when the Yellow Jackets came to Blacksburg last year, and
right.
Georgia Tech's offense did not look good. Not as good as they did taking Georgia to the wire in 8 overtimes Thanksgiving weekend. So if Haynes King stays healthy, I think Georgia Tech's got a really good chance. I'm not as high on Miami because there's too many question marks from last year's game.
Yeah.
I think I was the only AP top 25 voter who didn't have Miami in the top 25. Just because I just had too many questions about them, especially Carson Beck and the elbow injury. But I think, Louisville is going to be another good team. And that's one where Louisville coming to Blacksburg for the first time since joining the ACC is ridiculous. And the fact that it's 2025 and they've been in the league for more than a decade. So I think Louisville's going to be good. I think Florida State's going to be kind of a 500 team. They're in the same boat as Virginia Tech. New offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. They're running a 3-3-5 on defense. So I don't know how that fits Florida State's strengths, because usually their strength's been the defensive line and having really good linemen up front.
Absolutely.
Now you're taking one of those guys off. Yeah, I think this league's going to be a little bit more balanced this year. I think it will be top heavy with Clemson, Georgia Tech, SMU. Duke's one of those teams that I have doing really well. I think they have one of the better secondaries in the league. Trying to go through. I had Tech finishing 7th in the league. And all that's based off beating Vanderbilt in week 2 and then being able to beat Florida State in Tallahassee. So full disclosure, I had Tech going 8-4, 5-3. It could have easily been 6-6 and 4-4. But I think the revenge factor against Vanderbilt in week 2, that there's going to be a lot of motivation to beat them. And then I honestly think they have a really good chance against Florida State. That's just my gut feeling heading into this. And I know I'm reading your chat here, and I noticed a lot of people are saying, 8 wins need to see that. And I agree with them. I'll bring this up. You can't be 500, and we brought this up too earlier. You can't be 500 or worse going into league play this year. You got to be at least 3-1 to see marked improvement. Because again, everyone's going to bring up Tech has not beaten a non-conference Power 4 opponent since the 2017 opener against West Virginia.
That's amazing.
That's 13 straight losses.
That's amazing.
And you haven't beaten an SEC team since the 2016 Belk Bowl when Arkansas fell apart in the second half. So you've got to, South Carolina is going to be a tall task, but with a new defensive scheme, you might be able to be competitive with them. And Vanderbilt, you got to win, especially in Lane Stadium. And at night too. So that I agree with the chat. Then you got to get to 8 wins. You got to show consistent improvement. So I think that's probably the only way that keeps Pry off the hot seat and cools the one for Babcock as well.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Damien, listen, as always, great information. I'm getting a ton of text messages, people enjoying and getting the information, man. You're hitting it hard and correctly on everything. So thanks so much for joining us here on the new program. Looking forward to talking with you every week as we get through the 2025 football season, man. And as always, people can find you online and the hard copy of the paper, right, covering Virginia Tech football.
Absolutely. And I want to address Big Al's comment in there. The Board of Visitors meeting on Monday where Babcock's going to address money to them.
Yes.
That's going to be something because he lays it out that Tech needs money. And the fact that he's asking for $52 million of investment initially to get them on par with like the Clemsons, the Florida States, and the UNCs just for football and some other sports, I kind of want to be a fly on the wall to see what the BOVs, the look on their faces of like, this is the money we need because we're woefully behind in terms of the public school funding. Like Tech's 10th out of 10 in terms of funding for the budget for in the ACC. 10th out of 10. I mean, you're behind Virginia and you're well behind these other public schools. So Tech needs to keep up because Babcock said there's going to come an inflection point where there's going to be this breakaway and Tech does not want to be left behind.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting topic to dive into next week once you start finding out exactly what went on in that meeting. That's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's open to the public. So that'll be interesting.
It will be. All right, my friend. Listen, looking forward to talking with you then and throughout the year. Good luck getting the youngins out to school today.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, brother. Take care. There you go. Damien Sordelett. Great information from Damien Sordelett. And, we're going to get into that. I haven't been absolutely. 100%. We're going to get into that next week about this issue with Whit Babcock, and this presentation will probably be the most important one that he's ever made since he's been the AD at Virginia Tech. No question about it. Speaking of important information, check out the bottom of the screen because here in Reiner, where everything is finer, I broadcast every day from the Family Fencing Studios. And if you have an old worn out fence, if you don't have a fence at all, let Family Fencing give you your yard and the upgrade it deserves. They have a no-dig installation system that's huge. They have a strong, beautiful fence they can put up. There's no big mess, no big holes, no damage to your yard. They're locally owned, which is huge, huge. And they're fence experts here in Southwest Virginia in the NRV. They specialize in aluminum, vinyl, wood, chain link for residential. They do agricultural fencing, commercial. They have finance options available. So get a free quote today. Tell them you heard about them here on the program. Family Fencing, 540-200-8294. Check them out online, familyfencingnrv.com. Family Fencing, they build better fences, no digging required. And they're always going to be special to yours truly because they were the first of what is now becoming a multitude of folks sponsoring the new program here. So that's exciting. So great stuff there from Damien Sordelett. Coming up in just a little bit, Donnie Lynn, the head basketball coach at Mount St. Mary's, and Ron Shelburne, Radford Hall of Famer, going to join us. Don't forget to tell everyone, by the way, if you already have subscribed, thank you. Thank you so much. But every day, need you to go in and like every show, every video. And I push this because it's pushed to me from our BDST show assigner from YouTube. He's been very nice, but he's very direct. These are the things they're tracking. We're off to a good start. I get a report every day in the evening from him about where the channel is gone and what they're seeing. So they are watching from the YouTube headquarters this show right now and what we're doing. So again, please urge people to subscribe. It's absolutely free. And even if they don't want to watch all the time, hey, it's there, right? You can hit the notify button, by the way, if you want to know when the next show is coming up. You kind of know because we're every day 6 to 8:30. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff not part of the normal show that's going to be added to the channel here very soon. So this thing is going to continue to expand. And make sure you like and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your relatives, tell your neighbors, whoever it might be. But that's what we need, your support. And thank you so much. And we have some great sponsorship news coming in next week. I can't wait to unveil that. So we are growing here in week 1. I mean, we're in day 3 and we're, I don't know where we are here. Let me look and see, get you updated real time on where we are with the subscription base. But we need more. We need more. But we're almost at 270 already. And magic number is 1,000 for YouTube. I'll just tell you that right now. We're like the wizard, right? We take you behind the curtain, see the guy talking in the microphone, trying to be all scary. So there we go. 1,000's our goal here. I don't know. I don't have a timeline, but that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. But subscribe, like, pass it along. And again, we have some really cool sponsorship stuff coming, and we need more. By the way, if you want to be a potential sponsor, let us know. I now have info on what you want out of the t-shirts. Crazy how everybody wants a t-shirt. That's great. That's great. I'm getting a lot of requests for it since we talked about it. You've designed, so you like the other logo, the main logo. Hang on. I lost my pillow. If I don't have my pillow, I'm going to go into traction here on the air. Man down, man down. But the peeps seen on the new BDST coming up in our third. It's not an hour now. It's a half hour. Ron Shelburne, Radford University Hall of Famer. He can talk about a myriad of things. And that's what we're going to do. He was asking me about, what do you want to talk about? I said, I don't know. Let's just talk. Let's just talk. And coming up here momentarily will be Donnie Lynn, the head basketball coach at Mount St. Mary's. I wish I would have had this show going when Coach Lynn was making his run in the NCAA tournament, because it was magical. And I was as locked into watching Mount St. Mary's go through their tournament as I was any other college basketball I was watching once, unfortunately, the Highlanders got eliminated in the Big South. And by the way, we had High Point on the ropes, man, the eventual champion, But, for me, that was, it was so much fun, so much fun. So what he did in year one is incredible. Of course, his son was all over the national broadcast on CBS. It was awesome. And it was a complete family vibe coming through that program. And we want to thank all of our guests, by the way, as always. Okay. Thanks to everybody who joined us here. It's been a great so far first week. Got wonderful comments. One thing I'm getting from you is the peeps are really liking seeing the people, not me. Hell no. But peeps are really enjoying seeing the guests as we interact. And it does add an element to this that, we haven't had. So we'll talk to Coach Lynn here momentarily, and then we're going to have Ron Shelburne in our third half hour. There you go, our third segment. That's what we're going to do. All right, and without further ado, joining us now on the program, he is the head basketball coach at the Mount, my good friend, Donnie Lynn. Coach, how are you? Good morning.
Doing great, Rick. Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here, man. And I don't know where to start. I sat here and I said it. And one thing I regret about watching your magical run through the tourney and then going to the winning date was I didn't have an outlet to talk to people about it. So I just kept sending you texts the whole time, But man, oh man, what a year one, huh?
Yeah, hard to fathom that that would have been how we started here. Certainly exceeded expectations that I had for myself and anyone around here had for us, but certainly not going to apologize for that either. When every team, when you start out your year, that is your goal. That is what you're trying to do, is win your conference and give yourself a chance to play in the tournament and hopefully advance. And so, we were able to accomplish a lot, and beyond excited for what we did and also the future here at Mount St. Mary's.
I know, and you're so good with people, the young people, and just watching you at Radford when you were here and how you encouraged and taught those guys, and you kind of had a great vibe for when things were turning in a positive way. When your team last year, Coach, did you know earlier? How long did it take to develop before you realized this team could really be special in the league?
Yeah, so there was a day in like October before we played any games that I sat down with my AD and I said, listen, I don't know if we're going to be any good, but we're not going to get blown out. Like, we're good enough to compete.
Right.
We've got enough talent, and the guys, they care about winning. Like they do the winning type of stuff. Like, and if they can carry that over, then now I don't know relative to the league and all that sort of stuff because nobody played any games yet. And then early in the year, second or third game, we won at Bucknell in double overtime, and they're a really good team. They won their league, and walking off the court there, I was like, okay, like we have enough talent, and I think they know how to win. I think they find a way, even when things aren't perfect, to win. And then we went down and we finished our non-conference. We beat Miami at Miami, and nothing better than getting paid and coming back with a win at the same time. So we had a ton of momentum then rolling into conference play in January, and knew we could be pretty good. And then the injury bug hit us, man, and we had a 4-game losing streak there in January, and I wasn't sure, that if we had it in us to bounce back. And we, like a lot of teams do, we had a day that was supposed to be a 2-hour practice and ended up being 2 hours in the locker room just talking. It wasn't like yelling and screaming. It was everybody kind of got everything off their chest and found out that there was some there were a couple of guys on the team that were not respecting each other and caring about each other in the way I would like. You know me, Rick. I want our guys to have the utmost respect for each other. They don't have to be best friends. I understand. You're not going to be best friends with all your teammates, but they do have to love and respect and care for each other. And we kind of got through some of that and worked through some of that over the course of the end of January and started to win again, and all seemed to be right with the world. And then our second best player probably tore his Achilles with 4 games left in the season, 3 games left in the season. And we were in Fairfield, Connecticut, and I know I'm in the Northeast-ish now. We're the furthest south team in our league, so I stay connected to sports in Virginia for sure. But it's about a 6.5, 7-hour bus ride, 6 hours back from Fairfield. And I sat with my head in my hands for a good bit of that ride. I felt terrible for the kid, senior, never going to play again. But by the time we got back, I had basically come to grips with, 17 and 16. We're not going to win another game. That's what we'll end up. Right. And we'll be over 500. And, they haven't been over 500 in the max since they moved to the league. It's been 3 years. It's something we can build on. And we showed up in practice the next day because we play Friday, Sunday. And so we showed up at practice the next morning, and it's a light day, but we got some scouting to do to get ready for a game in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to see all the work that we had put in with building a culture really come to fruition that day. Our players had so much energy, they had so much enthusiasm. They had such a belief that this adversity was little, and it wasn't going to stop us. And shoot, we won 6 of our last 7, including the conference tournament and NCAA tournament, or 6-8 till Duke got us. But it's cool to see, all those seeds that you plant, building a culture, building a team. And in this day and age of transfer portal and NIL, and, I had a long conversation with a mutual friend of ours whose name I'll say off the air, who said, do you really still need all that stuff now? Do you need all that culture and all that time together? Because, they're just going to leave in a year anyway. And if they don't, they just got to play well for that 1 year. And I still believe that the only way to get them to play well for that 1 year, I think it's even more important than ever, is getting guys that truly find a way to care about each other and realize that their individual success is tied up in the team success.
Donnie Lynn joining us on the program. He's head basketball coach at Mount St. Mary's. NCAA tournament victory, losing to Duke, of course, but doesn't matter. Everything else was gravy at that point after the win in Dayton. I want to talk about the reaction you've gotten since the community. You told me going into that it's a place you knew very, very well. You'd been before. All about Mount, the fan base, the excitement around basketball. But my goodness, what has this created now for your program, right, going forward?
No doubt. It's been great. Locally, I'll tell anybody, once you come here and come to a game, you don't realize, you don't know whatever your expectations are for a quote unquote low major, basketball game in the middle of nowhere. And I don't shy away from it with recruits. I can't. We're out here. We're an hour from Baltimore, and it's the longest hour it could possibly be. You didn't think you could get this far into the country in 1 hour driving out of the center, out of Camden Yards. But it's it is a place that loves basketball, has a strong tradition. It's not that we were able to put Mount basketball on the map. We carried on a tradition of excellence that's been going on here since the 1950s. So the people here have, they are excited, but they're not, like I said, it's the expectation here is that you win. You're supposed to win. Right. What if you go through the banners, if a kid stays here for 4 years, which, that doesn't happen very often anymore.
Right.
But when kids they go to the NCAA tournament, right? Like in the 4 years you're here, you're probably going to make it at least once. But very few, have been able to do it, back to back or twice in 3 years. It doesn't happen very often at this level because there's so much variance in winning the conference tournament and one big leagues, as we know. But that's kind of where the excitement and joy of people around here is like, hey, we were able to retain some good players. We lost a couple of our really good players. We were able to retain some good players, and then we were able to go into the portal and get some guys that I think because of our success and because of how the university's positioned itself, we would have never been able to get in the off of earlier success. And so now it's right back to it, right? Is building that culture and figuring out how do we get this group to maximize its potential. And I think the people in the community are really excited about that. We're 30 minutes, 25 minutes, I tell recruits, but it's 30 minutes from Frederick, Maryland. And Frederick is booming right now. It's a city full of families that don't want to live and deal with DC or Baltimore, but there's affluence coming. There's jobs and young families, and we're the biggest goal for me with the success is to really see if we can be embraced as Frederick's team. There's a lot of transplants from DC who are Maryland fans or American fans or whatever. Because of where they grew up. And so, but we're the local team, the local Division I team. And so can we, kind of leverage this into really, becoming that group, that team for that group.
The other aspect of that kind of took the college basketball world by storm, CBS really, really enjoyed your son, Silas, and he was great. Talk about that. He became an instant star. But the thing about it, I was watching him, he's just got this natural affinity for basketball and what you do. And just talk about that and what that meant to you, Coach. Whole family affair, I know, with your wife and daughter. But what did that mean to have Cy right there in the center of that?
I mean, there's not a lot of words really to explain it. As a father who in this profession, I was so fortunate when my kids were young to work for Coach Jones at Radford. And I told him when I took the job, I told my old boss when I left, it's one of the reasons I wanted to come to Radford. Wasn't for the radio host, unfortunately, the guy who the games on when it traveled with us, but it ended up being a great perk. But I wanted to see a guy. I wanted to work for someone who would raise the family in this business and to learn, how it worked, because there's not a lot of great examples of that, unfortunately.
Very true.
In this profession. And coming to Radford and working for Coach Jones and the amount that let our family be around was a great example for me of how I wanted my program to be whenever I got the chance. And so then, my first year, Silas and Magnolia and Sierra, they were around all the time. But Silas especially, how it is. He's a 9-year-old boy. His dad's a basketball coach. He used to be around the guys all the time.
Sure.
And so he's there, right? He's at practice whenever he can be. He's at home games. He's in a full sweat by the time the game tips off because he's rebounding for the guys, so hard, trying to get every rebound, and so he's just having a blast, right? And as a father, we all want to see our kids have a blast and get to do things that are great experiences, and then get to do them together, shared memories. That's we want these shared experiences with our kids, and so to have this success and. He asked the very first, so we don't do a lot of press conferences here in the MAC, similar to in the Big South, there's not a ton of media that comes to the games. We, after home games, we have a 2 or 3 people that are there and we do a very casual, press conference.
The way it should be.
Yes. But we win the first game in the MAC tournament, and our SID, as they are, is grabbing me to go do the post-game press conference. And Silas is in the back with the team celebrating the win, and he asked if he could come. And so, sure. I mean, why not? So he comes and sits on my lap, and we're going, and he's kind of just sitting there. And at the very end, there's a young reporter, Sam Fetterman, who covers our league. And he does a good job. He's in college and loves the MAC, and carved out a little niche for himself covering our league, which is so cool. Awesome. And he decides to throw, at the very end, throw Silas a question. And Silas was ready. He took it and ran with it. And so, from then on, for the rest of the season, he just, he was like, he was ready. It was cool to see, as a 9-year-old. I know if you put a camera and a microphone in front of my face at 9, I would have ran behind my dad's knee, in that situation. So to see him have the confidence to, speak for himself and, and how much fun he was having. It was so cool. It's something that I'll never forget, and he'll never forget. We've got, thankfully, the age we live in. There's video evidence that'll live forever. I mean, shoot, my son got to be in one shining moment. That's still a dream of mine. I haven't made it yet.
He made it, but you didn't make it.
He made it, but I haven't. It's okay. But like things like that will live on, and he'll be able to have forever, and we'll be able to have those memories together, and hopefully can, obviously, the fun part about this is, now next year he'll turn 10, and hopefully we can build some new memories around all sorts of things, but certainly around Mount basketball, and the opportunity access that he gets is awesome. And I'm so happy to get to share that with him and with the other, we don't have my kids are the oldest now on this staff. So all my coaches, they've got young little babies. So they're not quite ready for to be running around and balls hitting them in the head and stuff. So my kids get to steal most of the attention right now.
Radford Hall of Famer David Smith, coach in the chat, says congratulations, wishing you all the best. You know
Thanks,
David
Dave.
very well.
Yes.
Yeah. And Wayne from Ohio wants to ask, how many energy drinks now are we taking down each and every victory? What are we doing?
I should have stopped on the way. I was running a couple minutes behind to get to the office for this morning. We could have cracked one open together. I got convinced that black coffee would be a better choice. So we're drinking a lot of black coffee, probably 4 cups a day most days, but we're not going to have a lack of juice. I'll promise you that. We're going to have some energy and enthusiasm in all that we do around here.
Well, before we let you go, Coach, we are speaking with Donnie Lynn, by the way, the head basketball coach at Mount St. Mary's, NCAA, by the way, victorious Mount St. Mary's. A Radford Hall of Fame's coming. I get to see you in October, or coming up, which I'm excited about. We have our Hall of Fame coming up, and I know that along your journey and along my journey, I've seldom met someone that's had more of an impact on my life than Mike Jones. And I know you still have that relationship at a different level, obviously, basketball, but personally, he brought you into Radford. Can you just speak about that and what this means to see Coach going in to the Hall of Fame? And, you're part of that as well.
No. I'm glad to be a footnote in Coach Jones's career. I get a little bit emotional when because I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and when people do stuff for you and they benefit your life with no cost to them, they put all the cost up. It has no benefit to them. It only benefited me. And then when that person gets recognition, the recognition that they deserve, it's so great. And, to see Coach Jones go into the Radford Hall of Fame is unbelievable. It's awesome. It's well-deserved. And I'm excited for him. I'm excited that they're honoring all of the accolades and the work that he did on the court, but more importantly, the work that he did for those young men. They got the privilege to coach, with the outpouring of support that I've already seen, that I'm sure we'll continue to see as the actual induction gets a little bit closer from all those players. It just speaks to why he does what he does. And, I'm thrilled for him. I'm so excited. It's such a great honor and well-deserved for Coach Jones. He's a far better man. He's been a Hall of Fame person for a long time, to the way he cares for people. And then, obviously the success that he was able to have at Radford and a place that fit him so well, that embraced him so well and his family. And then to see, obviously, that get rewarded with this honor is awesome. And I'm excited for him. I'm hopeful to be able to be there to celebrate that with you all. That's the plan. I gotta. The fun part about being the boss is I can just move the schedule around.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, I gotta be gone. Sorry,
we're not gonna practice that day. We're not gonna practice. But no, we'll hopefully we can make it down there. I came to Radford from Mount St. Mary's, and so I made the drive down 81 several times from Emmitsburg down to Radford. So I'll be excited to do it another time. But yeah, no, so happy for Coach Jones and for his family and for the Radford community. I'm glad that they were able to recognize that and see the value in all that he brought, not just in winning games and championships, but in helping to recruit high character young men to the program, really good players, guys that are forever remembered, as great Highlanders, guys who got their degrees from Radford, in an era when there was, rampant transferring like there is now, able to keep those guys 3 and 4 years to get degrees and go through Radford as a, and have that full college experience is so cool, and, it's a great honor for Coach Jones, and I couldn't be happier that my friend gets to do that, and that's going to be awesome.
And he was able to be there, right, as part of that too when you were playing and be part of your celebration. Had some great picks with Coach Edgar to support you even more there as you guys were making your journey through the journey.
Yeah, it was cool. Get to play in Raleigh and get to get him there, and he was our team doctor. And the fun part about being at the small school is they give you all these credentials and they have names on it, but like there's Duke, they walk through the tunnel and they got 100 people back there and they've all got jobs. They have all these credentials for all these jobs that don't exist at this level, but we can use them. So Coach Jones got to be our team doctor for the trip, so he could come back to the back, and we got to hang out for a little bit, which was great.
Well, with all the change going on in college hoops, you've talked about it. At the Mount too, you're going to have to. Everybody's going to deal with it. Radford, we're always going to deal with it, but. You had a great backcourt last year, but I know there's no game you wouldn't go into without Carlik Jones and Travis Field. You would put that backcourt, wouldn't you, against just about anybody?
Yeah. There's very few nights I wouldn't take those two. I've got this sitting next to me, Rick. You'll appreciate this. I wonder if it'll show up on camera. I got my Carlik Jones rookie card.
Oh,
right
beautiful!
Here, sitting next to me at the desk.
That's awesome.
I keep that next to me to remember some of those guys. But yeah, it makes coaching really easy when you got guys like Carlik and Travis that are really good players that have earned your trust, and so you can just like trust that they're going to just make the right play over and over and over again, and tell the other guys to get out of their way and be ready because the ball's going to hit you in the hands. So be ready to shoot it when it hits you. Yeah. That was about as good as we could have done. I'm glad that we were able to convince Coach Jones that it would be okay to have Travis after we had Carlik already, and that they'd be able to play together without it being too big of a deal. I'm glad that Coach Boyd and I and Coach Jerson, we were able to push that one over the edge, because that was a fun run with those two guys.
Well, you remember very well when we beat Notre Dame and we beat Texas. But Notre Dame, I remember sitting there with Mike Bray doing a pre-game interview. And he says flat out, this was off the record. He went, Rick, we don't have anybody that can handle Jones and Fields. They're gonna dominate this game. This is a guy at Notre telling me that. And I'm like, well, you might. And sure enough, they both had great games. He was the least surprised guy when he walked off the court and Radford had the dub.
Yeah. That was a fun group. That was as good of a team, maybe outside of my years of ECU, but since then, that was the best team I've been a part of. Not even close, and disappointing obviously to lose in the championship game with that group. But man, that team was so good, and to all that they were able to accomplish, and all the wins that they had, regular season championship, and winning 2 high major games in the same season. Like, it's a group of guys that got it. They understood that their strength was not their individual talent, but when you could put all those individual talents together and play really well, that's what we're trying to fight for as coaches, especially now in this day and age more than ever. It's just like, we have to amass talent but we have to amass the right people that will be really talented, but also understand that they can't be great without other great players around him, without being unselfish, and if we win as a team, then they all win individually. And, that is harder than ever. I had a long conversation with our point guard yesterday. We don't have really the confines like we used to, right? We can just talk. We had a long conversation with our point guard yesterday, and, he was, trying to help him understand that we have a lot of talent. We probably have more talent than we did last year. But it doesn't mean anything if
100%.
guys,
yeah,
if we end up with a bunch of selfish kids, guys. The issue is that all of my players learned how to play basketball 1-on-0, right? Them and a trainer with no competition. And when you play with just you and your trainer, all you learn how to do is dribble and shoot. You don't learn how to play. And, we needed to break. We have highly skilled, highly talented guys, more talented and more skilled than they've ever been at the college level. But we don't have as many competitive basketball players. And so we have to take these highly skilled, highly competitive guys that have been trained to score, and teach them how to be players and teach them how to be part of a team where you have 5 guys out there and you're playing 5-on-5, not 1-on-0, or maybe one of a person who's getting paid to let you score.
Right.
And so, it's a lot of fun to work with this group, and we had a great summer trying the beginning parts of that. And we start school early here. We start school on Monday. So a week from today, we'll be in the gym getting after it and working as we start to prepare, our preseason workouts and stuff and start to build it.
Well, listen, man, it's so exciting that you're building that program. You say building, he's already won the league. He's going to continue to build. He's going to have better teams going forward, Coach. And I want to again congratulate you on all the success. It's much deserved. And I'm going to steal your line. You talk, and you're right. Coach Jones is a Hall of Fame person, but you are as well. And I know that the way you are is the way you coach, and that means a whole hell of a lot to a lot of people. And you're going to continue to do great things, and give my best to your family. And what's great about it, Coach Lynn, when he has time and interest, he's going to be on with us. Like once we get college hoops, right, we're going to have you on for time to keep up with.
Yeah, we don't need to just talk about our program too. We got plenty of things we can talk about.
We can talk about whatever.
Whatever. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. I shouldn't be surprised. I forget the brand that Virginia Tech has. Like, I drive around Frederick, Maryland, and I see 4, Hokie bumper stickers every day.
Yeah.
And I forget about the brand that, that your audience, the audience that you have, when you talk about, it's not just in the New River Valley, it's not just in Blacksburg, it's not just in Southwest Virginia. There's a brand that, you can talk about that you have, that experience there that can stretch. And so I'm excited to see how this grows and in this new form. I'm excited if I can I'll gladly help and gladly be a part as often as I can. And we'll have a lot of fun with it.
Well, get the folks up there at the Mount to like and subscribe. They don't have to watch every day, but I got to build up the subscription base. That's what YouTube keeps telling me. So, pass it along, my friend.
Sounds good. Appreciate you, man.
Well, thank you, brother. Thanks for taking time this morning. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
All right. There you go. That's Donnie Lynn joining us on the program. Great stuff from him. He's the best. Mega congratulations to Coach Lynn for all his success. That's just the real deal right there as a person. And he's also a terrific basketball coach. Also, the real deal here as we get ready to open up hour number 3. We want to thank Family Fencing, first official sponsor of this new program. And if you have a worn out fence or no fence at all, let Family Fencing give you the yard upgrade that you need. They have a no-dig insulation system, no big holes. They take care of your yard, no mess. They're locally owned. They have experts here in the NRV, Southwest Virginia, throughout aluminum, vinyl, wood, chain link for residential, commercial, and agricultural. It doesn't really matter. Financial options are available as well. Get your free quote today. Call Family Fencing, 540-200-8294. Tell them you heard about them right here, watching and listening to this program, or visit familyfencingnrv.com. They build better fences, no digging required. Thank you so much to all the folks at Family Fencing. All right, so we segue into what is not, it's not hour number 3. It's segment number 3. We want to thank Damien Sordelett. We want to thank Donnie Lind. And I guess I'm trying to think here. I've probably known our next guest when I took over down at Radford University for Dave Hunsiker. I'd already known Ron Shelburne. Of course, he's a Pulaski County Cougar like me. But I guess I met Ron shortly toward the end of Dave's stint in terms of broadcasting. He and I picked it up after Dave left, and we shared the microphone for several years. And the Radford Hall of Famer, Ron Shelburne, joins us right now. Good morning, Ron. How are you, my friend?
I am doing great. How are you? This is a great day, Rick. This is a great week. having you back on the mic.
Well, you're far too kind, my friend. And I was going through the first week, and there's so many things you're trying to do because basically a one-man gang. But I said I gotta get Ron on here. We got to talk because every time we do, we get great reaction. We just talk about whatever. But it's kind of like I remember the first game or two we did right after I took over for Dave. It was just like we've been working together for 10 years.
That's it. Absolutely, it's easy. Always easy to work with you, Rick. Hey, you're the point guard of the broadcast.
Am I really?
Oh my gosh, you're the Chris Hawkins on the sideline, going up the middle, dishing the ball out, making other people look good. You're just not as stern as Chris Hawkins was on the court.
No.
If you dropped a pass or something, which is a good thing. Nothing but love for Chris. But you set people up. You make it easy, Rick, and very excited that you were back on the air.
Well, I appreciate that.
I mean, to say back by popular demand, that's cliche, but that is very, very accurate. Very accurate.
It was the public's response to my just simple little post that I made was really the impetus behind this thing, so here we are, we're doing our thing, and hopefully it continues to grow, and the audience is going to be bigger and more important than ever. But appreciate that. It means a lot. And
absolutely,
man, oh man, here we're talking about with Coach Lynn, and you're a Highlander for life, just like me. And
yes,
you think about those times and what he was able to do, and how that must have felt them going to the tournament, and how we all felt. Go back to '98 when we watched Kevin Robinson, follow up Sheeby's. What Sheeby says was a pass. It wasn't a missed shot. And then in 2009, when we had the tournament run there going into the VMI game and the championship, and then what happened in 17-18. So, I mean, there's something about it, isn't it, when you see a school like that, especially our alma mater, have that success. And you helped bring Radford basketball to that level. David Smith, you were there at the forefront, really, weren't you? I mean, with Ron Bradley, and talk about that and what you saw in Radford, because you were in high demand out of Pulaski County. You could have gone to different places, but can you talk about your recruiting journey? I always love to hear this story when you were coming out of Pulaski County, the relationships, and why ultimately Radford was, where you chose to play.
Yeah, well, real quick, if I may, talking about Donnie Lynn. Man, we all root for the good guys, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, he's at the top of the list right there. And I remember when he was on Mike Jones's staff, and just his enthusiasm, and it seemed like if the team needed a spark, if they were down, had to take a timeout, it seemed like he was that guy, the first one on the court, patting people on the butt, have chin up, let's go, we can get this going again. And just the enthusiasm. And so no surprise what he's doing up there. And again, talk about being in popular demand, just like you. I believe Coach Lind will be that. And they're lucky that they were able to keep him around for another year with what they did. But, Rick, I was always blessed with great teammates and with great coaches, and going all the way back. Mickey Hickman, kept me around for the JV basketball team and would work with me. And then guys like Arthur Johnson and Alan Wiley. And Coach Wiley retired after my junior year, and in comes Pat Burns, who had just a stellar career coaching all throughout. But at that point, he was highly sought after, coming out of Georgia with. He did great things with great teams up there. He comes in my senior year, and I mean, as soon as he met me, within minutes, he's like, okay, who are you being recruited by? And I'm like, well, nobody up to that point.
Nobody, really?
Yeah, nobody. At that point, UVA at Wise, which then was called Clinch River or Clinch Valley College, I think. They had sent a form letter, and Ed Green from Roanoke College sent a letter. He saw an article in the Roanoke Times, but it was just a letter. Hey, keep up the good work, essentially, but no recruiting at all. And he says, well, we need to turn that around. And this was before AAU just exploded. Okay. The AAU was a thing back then, but it was not like it is right now, which just dominates the landscape. And summer basketball camps were really big. You had 5-Star, which was in Radford. Radford was one of the sites. They would hold camps throughout the nation. Very expensive, very exclusive as well. There was also another camp for guys like me called Prep Stars. And Coach Burns was very involved, outside of his high school coaching duties. He was very involved with the whole UNC program. Had a great close relationship with Dean Smith, Roy Williams, and with the Prep Stars folks, Dave and Dick DeVinzio. And I think it was Dave DeVinzio. I think that was him. He was All-American guard at UNC, which, fun fact, and I'm chasing a rabbit here, going all the way back to the 80s, he was a huge advocate for paying college players to play sports.
He's right, 100%.
I mean, he was the guy out there by himself screaming from the mountaintops. And, I don't know if it's fair to say that was his life's purpose, but it seemed like it. But the DeVinzio brothers, they had a camp called Prep Stars. And so Coach Burns was very involved with them, did a lot of work with them. And he says, we got to get you into Prep Stars. So $295. Okay. Best investment I ever spent in 11th grade. And I say this jokingly, but truly, I had to bale a lot of hay that summer.
Right. Oh, I can relate. Yeah.
I think back then the going rate for me was $5 an hour. So that was 59 hours of square baling hay.
Square bale. Thank you. Exactly. People don't understand. Yes. When you and I were growing up on the farm, we didn't have the round bales.
No.
Toward the end. What was that? We had to get the square bales, carry 2 at a time, put them on the truck, take them to the loft, right?
And take them to the loft. And the loft was a tin roof, no ventilation,
160 degrees. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So that was what I did. And so we went down there and, and they had sent letters ahead of time after you registered and told you what to do to prepare for camp. You don't show up half-heartedly. You don't go to the pool for 3 weeks in a row. That wasn't an option for me.
Right.
Because where I was. So you show up in shape, and I really worked hard, and it all came together. And each night at that camp, again, we came down on a Sunday. They did an individual skills assessment, athletic assessments. They take information. I mean, they really did a great service. I hear a lot of friends that talk about their children who are coming out of high school, just how difficult it is to be seen by colleges. Prep Stars and the DeVinzio brothers, they really did a service because, I mean, it wasn't just a money-making scheme to them. I mean, as soon as you got there, they ran every kid through there. They did a profile on you, where you were from, what your vertical was, different things, height, weight, all kinds of stuff. And so every coach who showed up to watch these camps had this information on you. And every day culminated with 3, quote, all-star games that night. And it would be the last one was, kind of like, okay, here's who played the best that day. So Coach Burns, as soon as I get there, he's pushing Dave DeVinzio. Look, it's Dave or Dick, I'm not sure which one. He said, look, you need to see my guy. You need to come see my guy. So he comes and sees me like the first game we play. And it was just one of those games where, hey, the rim was huge. It was like throwing it in the ocean. It all came together for me. DeVinzio was sold, put me in the top all-star game that night. And I go from, essentially 2 form letters, okay, to the following Monday, okay. And literally, Rick, we're back in the hayfield.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
yeah.
and Coach Burns had said, okay, you've got interest coming out of the camp. And he drove me down and drove me back. And I had a couple of Pulaski guys, Anthony Akers, Ronnie Chafin, and Brian Goff from Whitfield. We all rode down with Coach. And coming back home, Coach was like, look, you've got some interest. You've got some interest in some Southern Conference and Big South schools, and they're going to be calling you. And that Monday, we're getting ready to go to the hayfield. The mail runs. I go get it, and there's just a ton of letters. And, you know, I remember my dad saying, what is this? And one of the letters was from UNC Charlotte. And I forget the gentleman's name who was the coach. It was Mullins. He was a coach, but he was a big-time player. And my father was familiar with him. He's like, why is this guy sending you letters? And I said, hey, I got lucky. It was a good week. And so that's basically where it was. And even before that, like I said, first time I met Coach Burns, he said, we've got to get you to this camp. Well, the second time I saw him, we had an open gym night, and he pulls me aside as soon as I get there. He said, hey, this afternoon I placed calls at like 2 schools. And he says, we're going to go there to one of them for team camp so they can see you.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to help bring the team together, and plus they can see you. So he was a huge advocate for me. And again, a coach, you know, and again, every coach I played for, you know, brought something to me and blessed me in some way. And Coach Burns, you know, from the recruiting standpoint, it was, you know, it wasn't happening until he showed up. And then again, it wasn't all, you know, filling you with false hope and blowing sunshine. Coach also, after those conversations, all right, now let's get it on the court, and you need to take the game up another level. And again, he was the guy that, you know, we always want somebody in our life to push us, not to tell us, you know, how great you can be, but to always push you to take you to another level. And that was what Coach Burns, and so that was another thing that he was to me. He elevated my game, and you know, it wasn't always fun, but he elevated my game, and it was great. Yeah.
Ron Shelburne joining us on the program, the Radford Basketball Hall of Famer, number 42. And yeah, once he got to college, he kind of fit in pretty well at Radford. Mike Ashley always talks about, you know, watching you develop as a player. Do you still have one or two moments, one game that stands out, one rival, or something that you felt was really like, okay, this is why I came to Radford. This is what makes it worth playing, right?
Oh, yeah. It was, and again, anybody who played competitive sports, you know, and stuck with it, there's highs and lows. You know, we always talk about the highs, but there's a lot of downtime, you know, because I remember that freshman year, you know, you're 18 years old, you know, you're still a boy. No matter how great you thought you were coming out of high school, you're still a boy, and you get reminded of that really fast, and on a daily basis too, which is fun. And, you know, I look back at when I think back on my career, I think back to, you know, man, I remember that time we were down. I was down individually, but we pushed through, we persevered, and, you know, it turned out good. It turned out good. And probably the first thing was, it was a goal of mine to start my first collegiate game. And I think up to that point, Coach Joe Davis, who was the coach that recruited me to Radford.
Right.
He had only had 2 players that had ever started for him as a freshman. And so we go up to VMI to open the season my freshman year, and I started. Had a good game. And then the next morning, we drive back from Lexington, great game. You know, hey, I've got this game. I got this figured out. This is going to be awesome. The next morning at 7 a.m., you know, me and Robert Lindbergh, who was my roommate at that time, my freshman year, you know, we're packing our bags, we're on the bus, and we're headed to Chattanooga for a 2-game tournament. You know, so boom, that was fast, you know, and we go down there, we practice. The next night we played Tennessee State, and Tennessee State had a guy, I know you remember him, Anthony Mason.
Oh, yeah. New York Nick.
New York Nick, 6th man of the year, you know. So we're told, hey, this team has a legit NBA prospect. And I'm like, hey, not a big deal. I got him. And oh my gosh, I had, this guy was NBA all the way around, everything from number one size to see something. And again, I'm an 18-year-old boy. And to see this guy, 6'9", 240, built like a Greek god.
Yeah.
And his ball handling skills were better than any guard I had ever seen up to that point. And so that was a rough night. Then the next night wasn't much better. And, I'm back to second team. And just having to pull out of that, that was – to me, and I, just having to kind of overcome that, kind of trudge through it, wondering, wow, am I really cut out for this? It doesn't look like it.
Right.
But to be able to come back from that, and it took about a month, because at a Christmas tournament in Youngstown, Ohio, I really kind of got back on my game, and at that point never looked back. And so that's, those are more meaningful to me than anything. And then, of course, flash forward 4 years, let's talk VMI again. Senior year, we're coming off that infamous 7-22 season, my junior year.
Yes.
Okay. And
infamous indeed.
Yeah. So, we had Oliver Purnell comes in, Coach Purnell, my sophomore and junior year. Sophomore year was about an average year, 16, 14, 15, 13, whatever it was. The next year, it was rough, 7-22. But ironically, at the very end, we win 3 out of our last 5 games and trounced Campbell in the first round of the Big South tournament, who was the number 2 seed.
Right.
And we smoked them by 20 in the first round. It wasn't even close. And then the next night lost the eventual champion, UNC Asheville, only by like 5 or 6 points. And it was that close throughout. So, it was kind of interesting how we finished that season up. So that kind of gave you a glimmer of hope. And then Coach Purnell, he did some retooling and made some really good moves. And that's when Ron Bradley showed up on the scene. And, Coach Purnell and Coach Bradley, they talk about working well together. They really did. They really did. It allowed Oliver to work on his strengths, focus on those, and Coach Bradley could work on his strengths. Coach Bradley brought a lot to the program, obviously, and, organization, X's and O's, and just another set of eyes that I think Coach Purnell could really trust in. He had a lot of faith. He had a lot of trust, and they worked great together, not just at Radford, but, throughout their respective careers. And so that was cool. But VMI early that season, we get off, we win a few good games. We had beaten Ryder, I think, a couple other teams, but, the VMI game was always big. Joe Contafio, he always had a lot of good players. The Williams twins. I think it was Percy Covington.
Percy Covington, from Roanoke.
Percy was good. Greg Fitz, Jonathan Penn from Pulaski. And there's also a guy, Lewis Preston, out of Franklin County, who was, this was a legit team. Okay. And I think and prior to us playing them, they had beaten Virginia Tech, because part of the scouting tape that we were looking at was them playing in Castle Coliseum, where they beat Tech that year. So, that's, we're looking at this thinking, okay, wow, this is a legit team. Is that VMI, or is that Memphis State in there?
Keith Lee out there running around.
Yeah, throw back to the Metro Conference days.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my goodness.
And and it was a slugfest. And we, fortunate we win it. Chris Hawkins gets me the ball on the low block. And they just, it was one of those things where I'm so thankful when I go up for that shot with 2 seconds on the clock. I was so thankful that they fouled me, and they fouled hard because I was expecting contact. Had they not touched me, that ball would have been up in the stands somewhere. I was going up for such a
buzzer sounds.
Yeah, that would have been tough. But I think back on that play, on that whole thing. Before that, Percy Covington. So time is, ticking down. We're up 1. Covington takes the ball on the wing, and he's D'd up by Stephen Barber. One of the greatest defenders in Big South Conference history. Rest in peace to our old friend.
Rest in peace, Stephen.
But so he and Covington takes it. He's driving, and there's contact out there, as much offense as defense. It just, and kudos to the refs. They weren't whistle happy. They were letting us play through this, and the ball goes off Covington's foot, which isn't a violation. Defensive kicking is, but the offensive player could hit their foot. The ball's rolling to me. I'm help side position. I'm like, okay, this is good. Here it comes. It was like fielding the ground ball. Okay. Yeah. And nobody ever talks about this part of the story. I reached down to get it. And again, what are you thinking? Get it, bring it up strong, because they're going to foul you. You're going to go hit 2 free throws. I get it. I'm bringing the ball up. I come up, except there's one problem. The ball isn't with me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it rolls through my legs. I reach out. I think it was either Fitz or Preston. Take it, lay up. They're up 1 with 10 seconds left. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, again, here's where Ron Bradley, brought so much to the program. He had been working on this one play, and he kept us under control. Coach Purnell, we've got 10 seconds. That's a lifetime. That's an eternity.
Oh, yeah.
And again,
all day.
Yeah. And this wasn't, let's call timeout and we get the ball at half court. No, we still got to go 94 feet or whatever.
Right.
So we had a play where Hawkins takes the ball out, and it was a play where whoever he's going to throw it into, they step on the baseline. So they had made the shot so we can run. So the other player comes on, he comes across to the baseline. You could pass it to him. Hawkins steps right in. He takes the ball. Okay. And Chris, and it's full court pressure, man to man. And the deal was I meet Hawkins at the top of the key. I set the screen, and then I just roll to the basket. And Chris Hawkins, he's the guy who made that happen, because he goes 94 feet, okay, under heavy pressure. I set the screen. I was very thankful they didn't call a moving screen. It wasn't a moving screen, but it was a physical,
right.
There were bodies flying.
Yeah.
I rolled to the basket. Again, another reason that they let us play through this. Hawkins takes contact on the baseline. He gets knocked down, keeps the ball up, gets up, underhands me a pass left-handed. I'm right there, and then bam, that's when the contact and so forth. So again, it's that actually is, and yeah, we hit the free throws.
You nailed the free throw
left, and that's it. And I used every bit of rim on those free throws, and it was
hey, doesn't matter.
Again, there've been a lot of times there's always a lot of times in any player's career where they're a little nervous to go to the free throw line or to take that last shot. Everybody, at some point is. For some reason that night, that play, I don't know if it was just the frustration of that 7-22 season, shedding that off of us or what. But that night, after I got that, I just knew, hey, these shots are going in. And of course, they called the timeout, which was fine. I'm like, it's all good. It's all good.
I'm going to make them.
And Purnell's like, hey, relax. I'm like, you relax. I'm good.
I'm good. You're like Jimmy Chitwood in Hoosiers. I'll make it. I'll make it.
Yeah. And we had a play where, okay, if, and we're setting the play up, again, I'm going out to shoot 2 free throws, and Purnell's there. Coach is setting this play up. Okay, Ron's going to make the shot, but if he doesn't, here's what I want the two low, positions on the free throw do. I want them to cross lanes, and that way they can get a rebound. I'm like, stop this.
Right.
I'm like, somebody's going to do a violation. So we go out, I shoot the first one, and again, it just rims in. And, they hit, it was a two-shot. So the play after that was, okay, to cross lanes in case I missed the back end. So I went to the players down there. I said, do not move. You step put. Stand down, both of them. Don't do it. We didn't need a violation in that case. And thank goodness I made the shot, man. I would have been running sprints till today. And,
yeah, you just out of guilt, you just take off on the farm and just start doing them yourself. I get it.
There you go. That's it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's all. That's great. Well, listen, man. Listen, I love to hearing that. I could hear that all day. I could hear your stories all day. But thank you so much, man, for joining us the first week. It means a lot. We're going to be doing a lot more together here on the channel, but it's great to have you, brother. Absolutely. And congratulations on all your success. And it's just great to be able to have you back on. It's great.
Hey, thank you. And it's great to have you back on. Again, your show is one of the great things about the New River Valley. And we're very fortunate, when you travel around the bigger cities, you hear the different sports talk, and we're very fortunate in this part of the state. And again, I'm excited about the YouTube that the world is going to get to see you more and to be.
We're national, baby.
That's it.
We're worldly.
That's it.
We're worldly.
So I'm looking forward to what's in store for the future for you in this program.
Well, thank you. It'll be up to wonderful guests in the audience. And but next time, by the way, I'm getting a lot of requests on text line. Next time we have you on, 2 words we're going to cover. You ready?
Okay.
Michael Porter.
Ooh.
You think we can do that?
Yeah. We'll have to narrow that down to a few stories because there's plenty. Yeah. Ooh. What a phenomenal talent. Insane.
Yeah, we'll kind of take the lid off of Michael Porter in that era.
Yeah.
And I think even though I have one right here with me, I think Ron would be the first to say the greatest single basketball talent that Southwest Virginia, New River Valley has ever produced or seen.
Yeah, Michael one of the best Porter. In the state.
Ever.
One of the
to
best.
To this day.
Yeah.
As are you, my friend. That's why you're in the Hall of Fame.
Well, it's very kind of you, and very few people, and certainly not me, very few people are on Mike Porter level.
Yeah. No matter what you're talking about. Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
All right, brother. Listen, have a great rest of the day. Thank you so much for being on the first week, and give my best to Terry and the family.
I will. Okay. Thank you, Rick.
Brother. There you go.
Have a great day.
Stuff. That's the Hall of Famer right there. That's Ron Shelburne. That's great. We're going to do it. People kept asking, you guys, we don't have enough time. I wanted to hear, how great was that story? How great was that? Just hearing Ron talk about it. That's awesome. And he's kind of told that before, but I forgot when he tried to pick the ball up, he didn't have the ball. I forgot about that part. That he told me that before. But that was awesome. That was awesome. So thanks to Ron for joining us. And thanks to all of you once again for joining us. We've gotten through the first 3 days. We slid over the hump. How about that? Here on the program. I want to thank, obviously Family Fencing for producing and being our studio host. The Family Fencing Studios, McClellan Chiropractic. We have some exciting sponsor news coming next week that I'm looking forward to unveiling. And we want to thank all of our guests here today. Leading off, of course, was Damien Sordelett, the Virginia Tech football beat writer from the Roanoke Times. Of course, Donnie Lynn, head basketball coach at Mount St. Mary's, and Ron Shelburne, our basketball Hall of Famer. I want to thank you for watching the program here again today. Again, be sure to subscribe, like. It's so important right now to watch. Go back and watch later. The views, make sure you like every video. Subscribe, tell your friends. They don't have to watch everything. They don't have to watch any of them. If they subscribe from time to time, they might want to go back, but it helps with the whole algorithm thing. And that's what we do. Tomorrow on the program, we got a lot going on. From the get-go, we've got Andy Bitter from Tech Sideline. We've got the Hall of Famer David Teal, and then Dwight Vick on our Thursday. So we're looking very forward to that. And we hope to have a substantial guest announcement on Friday. It's one of those things where you're 63% sure it's going to happen, but you want to wait until you get up to the 80s, right? So we'll follow up on that. But thank you so much for watching and for listening. We appreciate it. And go through, leave your comments throughout the day. No matter when it is, it's there. That's what's great about YouTube. It's right there. If you miss it, you can watch parts of it anytime you want. You can fast forward to the parts you want to see. It's beautiful. It's great. That's why it's number one right now. It is the number one streaming service. It's taken over TV. There's no more TV. It's YouTube, right? So that's why we're here. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And we will see you tomorrow here on BDST, 6 to 8:30, every weekday live. Andy Bitter, David Teal, and Dwight Vick. See you, everybody. Take care.